Thank you for tuning in to the Otherworldly Podcast. I'm your host, Frank.
I'm your host, Dylan.
This podcast, of course, we allegedly talk about spooky things, mostly just news for now. I think we might have gotten an email. We'll have to take a look at that later.
We'll have to check out that email.
Now, today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we both recently watched a movie. You might have heard of it. The Cloverfield Paradox, right?
Yeah, the Cloverfield Paradox.
So, since we both watched the Cloverfield movie, what's the first one called? Just Cloverfield?
The first one's Cloverfield. The other one was something Cloverfield Lane.
10, I think it's 10
10
Cloverfield Lane, and then Cloverfield Paradox. So, I was a big fan of the first one. And the second one, 10 Cloverfield Lane, was really good. The one, who's the actor? Who's the guy from Roseanne?
The old guy? The dad?
No, yeah.
Oh, I don't know the actor, but
amazing actor in that movie.
Yeah, he's a very lovely actor.
But yeah, first though, before we get started on that, what our thoughts are about that movie, series in general, we do have one piece of news because we pretty much covered all the news already. There's not much left.
Yeah.
News isn't made every day. So the news for today that I found very interesting is going to be with quality of life.
Now, what's exactly their criteria for quality of life, though?
So it takes into account each state's air quality, pollution, and voter participation, among other measures. It says,
all we got is two, like air quality and voting?
And California ranked last in urban air quality. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
California, 45 in low pollution air risk, although it was 13th in drinking water quality. California found itself second to last in voter participation, 44th in community engagement, and 38th in social support.
Now, social support, what does that exactly mean?
It doesn't specify. I'm sure it might somewhere in this article, but I mean to, with this podcast, we're wanting to increase that social support by socially supporting you, the viewer. Email us. We would like to support your thoughts and emails so that we can raise this number. Together, we can do it.
Hey, Otherworldly Podcast participation has been on record lows. Every year that you don't participate is another year closer to doomsday.
And not just California. The world. Right?
Yeah.
The world.
Hey, Doomsday Clock predicted it. As soon as you guys stopped sending emails, that's it. Alright, let's check out our only email. It comes from...
Well, it's not the only email. It's the featured email.
It's a featured email, and it's the only email. It's
the only featured email.
Anyways, it comes from Google to me, and it says, "Stay safer online with my new security checkup."
And that's not just some nobody on the street. That's Google.
Dude, Google personally messaged me.
Well, us, the podcast.
Us. Our podcast.
Worried about our safety because we're making a difference in social.
Look, I'll read you the message. Cisco, Frank, and Dylan. Cisco is Frank. That's what I call him outside of the podcast.
Inside the podcast, since you're calling me that now.
Yeah. Continuity error. Frank and Dylan, you guys need to change your locks. I saw some sketchy looking bums outside your house the other day, and we are very much worried for your safety. Yeah.
Little did they know that was actually just us.
That was
actually just us.
They've never seen us in person, but I mean, look at us.
Yeah. No, wait, no. Him. Look at him.
Says one with the scraggly, red-haired beard.
Clean shaven, sclaggly.
Scraggly.
Coined it. Sclaggly. This is a sclaggly beard.
Anyways, where were we at?
Yeah, we talked about our email. Not the only one, just the
one
featured
that we
one.
to feature.
The featured one. And yours can be featured too. You just have to email us at
otherworldlypod@gmail.com. And we'll flash that onto the screen and put the link in the description.
or if we remember.
Yeah.
In the arms of the angel.
It's a little political, but I think it's interesting. Trump has been wanting to ban bump stocks, which is something I feel like a lot of liberal people, and including myself, even though I'm not technically liberal, I'm kind of for, because a bump stock is kind of like a loophole to getting an automatic weapon by using a semi-automatic weapon. From a video I've seen, it doubles the firing rate at least, and essentially grants someone who would normally only have a semi-automatic weapon the ability to fire off a fully automatic weapon. Yeah, it's pretty. It's essentially, it shouldn't be allowed because we're not allowing automatic weapons. It's basically cheating a semi-automatic into becoming a fully automatic weapon.
I see. Can they be 3D printed?
Yeah, easy. Because
Really?
it's nothing too complicated. It's just basically you fit it or you change out your stock, you fit this in, right? And then what it does is it pushes kind of like a little wall right here, and you can put your finger here. When you begin to pull the trigger, your gun will bounce back and forth like that, causing you to automatically pull the trigger every time it bounces back forward. So it destabilizes your accuracy. But the thing is, when you're a mass shooter or
have like an extended clip?
yeah, exactly.
Or
Then
magazine.
that's exactly the reason you'd want a fully automatic, inaccurate gun. Because I can't imagine a hunter or anyone else who uses guns or shoots them for, for fun, essentially, for leisure. I can't imagine any reason anyone else would need a gun that does that.
Okay, scenario. Off the top of my head. So, have you ever, have a tree and you disturb it and all the birds go flying out of it in all the directions? You know where I'm getting with this? So, one of those huge, Tommy gun barrel magazines, right? And then the bump stock, because as soon as you, throw a rock and hit it to where all the birds come out, because there's no way you're going to be able to aim at each one anyway.
So
there you go. A hunter legitimately using a bump stock to
just
take
bird
down those
genocide. That's the practical application.
Well, maybe he didn't. He wasn't able to shoot the bird. He had never gotten a bird before, and this was his third year. And he's like, these pheasants, man. And so he decides, he's like, it's the day these pheasants go down.
This is the day
This
they go
is
down.
the day.
They've been eating my berries, pooping on my car. This is it. I'm done. And because we're about to cut away for time, and then come back after halftime. I do want to elaborate, even though we're talking about political subject matter. I think it's totally okay to disagree or have a completely even different viewpoint than me. It's just that's my opinion on bump stocks. I do believe they should be banned. I don't believe all firearms should be banned. But there's kind of I definitely have opinions that might differ from a lot of people about gun control and gun use in general. I think that's okay. So hopefully that doesn't start any heated debates.
Wait, didn't I see you once outside of Walmart on one of those little stands saying sign our petition to ban all guns?
That was to sync up the audio. I don't know if that's going to be kept in, but that'd be a really awkward way to start the second half of the podcast.
It would, because I was trying to straddle this chair when I was trying to get in it. So hopefully all that plus this will be cut out.
Hopefully, it's up to you, Sarah, the editor.
Now, continuing on, before we move on to this next section, we're going to be talking about probably not 10 Cloverfield Lane very much, since it didn't have too much to do with the story, but just in case, spoiler warning for Cloverfield, the first movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Cloverfield Paradox. So if you have not watched those movies,
say goodbye to us.
Or
watch the movies.
Pause the video right now for 6 hours. Watch all 3 movies
in succession,
and then call back.
Also, PSA: none of them really have that much to do with one another.
They don't have too much to do with each other.
I actually read somewhere that the director decided to just throw that in last minute.
Well,
I'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, and that is actually something I wanted to bring up if I remember. So, first,
a few different talking points from the movie.
We have, what I did was I looked up a few questions, and our expertise, having recently watched at least the other movie, or the Paradox, and have past experience with the other movies, I say we qualify as movie reviewers, right?
Experts.
I don't think you have to be licensed to be a movie reviewer, so we're already qualified.
Yeah, exactly. We have opinions, and they matter.
That they do. So, I guess before we get into the questions, how did you like Cloverfield Paradox?
All right. So now the thing that happens to me a lot when I watch movies is I think a lot about what was the director trying to do, and I usually watch movies kind of like through 2 lanes, right? I usually watch it just as the viewer, and then I also watch it as kind of like the perspective of the creative team, the more kind of meta end of it, which is like, what was the director, what was the writer trying to do, what was the intentions, and were those intentions satisfied? Watching that movie, I was confused as we'll put a rubber nose on that. But because the plot kind of moved in all sorts of directions, and there was kind of this no clear antagonist, just kind of things happening, and also just characters kind of had like unrealistic responses to things. Like the dude with one arm was just like, "Guess I'm like this now." So on that end of the spectrum, the movie was kind of dissatisfactory, and then kind of like a lot of things were just shoehorned in and kind of just like the plot moved like a dead horse being dragged by chains. It was very kind of forced.
Yeah, I guess I can see what you mean.
So that's my ranting end of the segment. On the other end, I think that most of the visuals, there were some moments that were just like the end with the monster were just so bland and like poorly, like, what did you render this on Blender? Like, but prior to that, a lot of the visual aesthetic, the inside of the spaceship, the different gadgets they used were all very interesting. I thought that was done and executed mostly very well.
Especially the door.
Oh, yeah.
The door, yeah.
Oh, he's referring to, if you guys have seen it, there's a scene where there's this really important keypad that they're trying to open. Is it when the girl's trapped inside the water?
Yeah, Tim, the mechanic, or
he's trying to save her.
shepherd mechanic, was the one that was trapped in that room.
Yeah, and they're trying to save her, and they have like these just blue knobs, and then they're pulling them out.
Yeah, so whenever they take off the panel, instead of there being a whole bunch of cords there's just these knobs, really.
Yeah,
they're just glowy knobs. And they were just taking them out and putting them in. It never worked. It
Yeah.
never opened the door.
Didn't open
but
the
the,
door.
but she was very adamant that that felt like those little plugs were going to open the door. I'm sure it would have, but I don't think she was a mechanic, so I don't know if she would have known how to do that.
I'm trying to figure out. It reminded me exactly of an old toy with like the pull-out lights. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what it's called.
You know what we'll do if we can't find it in the next 30 seconds?
We might flash it on the screen.
We'll flash it on the screen.
Yeah.
And we'll just be clueless. And Sarah will edit the words. This is it. This is what it's called. These guys are idiots and they're dragging this bit on a little bit too long.
So we'll find that later then. Yeah. So overall, you liked the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for horror movies. Or sci-fi especially. So overall, I still like. As a viewer, I sat down. I enjoyed myself. I was a little confused, but whatever. It was interesting to see a third installment in the series. Try and tie in a few different things. One aspect of it is they try and kind of create an origin for the Cloverfield monster, but even that's kind of gray. Did they explain why that came about?
Okay, so the creature wasn't really. I don't think it was caused by the shepherd directly. I don't know which movie it was in. I think it was in the first one where there was a scene, I think when they were flashing through the camera, that showed them at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. It was like a fair on a pier, and in the background you can see a satellite smash into the water. Did you ever know that? Have you known that?
No.
So,
You got a video of that?
there is video of that, but
You keep talking about it.
yeah. So what that part was supposed to represent, or theory on why they had that in the background, was that the creature, the Cloverfield monster, was already on Earth and had been living. He had been living underwater, and if you ever look into like the lore of Cloverfield, there was issues with oil rigs, and they were like, a company seemed like they knew it was there and they were trying to study it without waking it up, but then a satellite comes out of the sky, smashing into the water, which is believed to be what woke up the Cloverfield monster. I think, in my opinion, it may have actually been. I think Paradox was trying to say that either one of two things. Either the pod at the end of the movie that the heroes come down at, the survivors, smash into the water, and that's what wakes up the Cloverfield monster. Although, yes, if you've watched the movie, you'll know the Cloverfield monster is already there when they're coming down.
Yeah.
So the second thing,
and that satellite falling scene happened months before.
Yeah, happened months before it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the paradox. Time doesn't work the same. So a different pod from a different shepherd, or I'm going to refer to shepherd as the ship, even though the shepherd I think was just the device. So if I say shepherd, I'm talking about the ship in total.
The shepherd.
The shepherd. So I believe the shepherd, whenever they transferred over to the other, what was it, dimension? Is that what they're dimension? Okay, so whenever the shepherd first goes into the other dimension, they find out later on that the shepherd in the dimension that they were transferred to had crashed into the water. So it's possible that the satellite in the previous movie was actually that world. No. The shepherd itself.
Yeah.
Because remember, the shepherd hit the water. What if the shepherd is what crashed? That woke up the monster. Well, when it shows it in the background of the scene, it doesn't look that big, but it could be very far away.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can barely see it coming out of the sky, but that could be the shepherd. The only reason I don't think it is, even though that's what I want it to be, either it be the shepherd or be the escape pod.
I want the directors to be more intelligent than I think they are.
Well, the reason I don't know if it is because in the Cloverfield, the first movie, there's no power issue. There's no issue with power, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's just using
Well,
electronics. There's
The
no...
one we just watched, Cloverfield Paradox, takes place in 2028, so there's time enough for that to happen.
2028.
So, Cloverfield, the original is 2008, and the one we just watched was 2028.
So that means... So wait, that means that the Cloverfield monster had already been on Earth, terrorizing Earth for like 20 years?
What it means is that I read somewhere that the director that did, because I want to mention this, the movie Cloverfield Paradox was originally supposed to be a movie called The God Particle, written by, still written by the same guy who did the screenplay. You can see it. I forgot his name. That it was supposed to be its own thing about two universes fusing. You know, the whole power struggle. The Cloverfield thing was kind of shoehorned in last minute during production, so they had to film a few extra scenes, like her husband with that little girl, and then also that ending scene where the pod's coming down,
And then the Cloverfield comes up.
Cloverfield monster comes up. Those were all filmed last minute, kind of whatever, kind of added on just to be like, okay, now it's part of the Cloverfield trilogy. Because of that, I think they didn't really think it out very well, and
Well, they gave themselves an out.
It's supposed to be like the future affecting the past. Is supposed to. That's what the guy said.
Right, and the reason why I said that, even though I kind of, said what I thought, and even immediately said afterwards that I know those can't be true in that world, the reason I still think it's a possibility is because even though we see the ending of the movie taking place in a world where the shepherd survived, that doesn't mean that the Cloverfield from the first movie and 10 Cloverfield Lane takes place in the same world that the ending of Paradox does. But the reason Paradox is a good movie, like not a good movie, well, it's a good movie, but I mean, the why it's a good to the story is because now that they've brought in the possibilities and the means to travel to different dimensions, is that now they can easily explain how the first and second movie came about. Is that it was just a different dimension. So, and to add on to the whole, what you had mentioned about the God Particle movie being changed last minute, I didn't know any of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no idea. So it's...
I did a little bit of research when I was using the restroom.
Oh, wow. Smartphones these days, huh?
Productive use of my time.
While you were,
Taking a Schmidt.
Yeah, while he was taking a Schmidt.
Taking a Schmidt. That's our new inside joke. You gotta watch Cloverfield Paradox to get it.
And
it's on Netflix too. If you're whatever about the first two, spoilers, at least watch Cloverfield Paradox, because it's on Netflix. I mean, almost everybody has it. At least you have a friend that has a login. Just watch it.
So you're gonna borrow your friends or family's Netflix account, or visit them, and while they're on vacation, because they are, and go ahead and use their
that they hid underneath the
false rock.
The false
Oh wait, which family are you talking about?
Anyways, that's almost the end of this episode of the Otherworldly Podcast. We're reaching 14 minutes for this halftime audio, and we're gonna have to cut it off at 15. Thank you all very much for joining us again. Once again, we
didn't answer any of the questions.
We didn't. I rate the movie at 3 out of 5 stars. Rada rada rada. Audio is probably gonna go longer than the video.
But you know what? We're going to get through just a couple of these real quick. But first, we're going to rate the movie. He already rated it 3 out of 5?
Yeah.
So 3 out of 5. And we're basing this off of story, visuals, or is that it?
Story and visuals for now.
Okay,
Actor
story.
performances is kind of. I think the actress did pretty well. The other actors were all right.
Yeah, honestly, I think I really enjoyed some of the actors in this movie, and I did enjoy the visuals. Story, I feel like it opened up for the other movies to all conjoin together with the other dimensions. So overall, especially because of Schmidt,
Hey,
I give it a
Schmidt happens.
Schmidt happens. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. So we're gonna run
Nice.
through a couple of these questions that we definitely know the answer to. With our expertise, I doubt these questions will be any match for our answers.
For our higher IQ, I'm a Rick and Morty fan.
We may. No, we're not gonna do that. Okay, so first question here. It says, "What the was the deal with Mundy's alter universe arm?" Well, that was a plot device, to move the plot forward, and that was it.
Yeah, that was an awful plot device. That was next to the guy on the news straight up saying, "Well, if we activate that energy device, we'll summon monsters and demons." That next to that was the worst plot device.
No, that was just foreshadowing. They're different.
Don't you dare look me in the eyes. Say that again.
Question 2. It says, why did the 3D printer have gun and bullet schematics?
You see, I was gonna mention the bullets thing when we were watching it. The gun thing kind of made sense because it said emergency override. It said something like for emergencies only. That makes sense. The bullets. How are you gonna make bullets with a 3D printer?
Well, okay, so with the 3D printer, I can see why or how it's possible is because it shows early on that 3D printer isn't a normal 3D printer because it was able to print food. So it's really futuristic printer.
Okay.
So
it's not
so
like
if it's able to print food and basically anything else, why wouldn't it be able to print using whatever materials used for that gun?
For some reason, I was thinking it's only got one set of ingredients, but what you're saying is that it's got a whole platter of
because not only were they able to make, I forgot what they made with it other than food, but I mean, if it makes food, then it's definitely high tech. Plus, it was year 2028, 2020 something.
Yeah, 2028.
So if 3D printers these days can make guns, you can 3D print a gun nowadays. It's not a very good gun, and it may not work more than a couple shots, but 20 or 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they'll be printing organs.
Yeah.
So, question 3, it says, what the fish was Hamilton's plan in heading to Earth 2? She wanted to see her kids. That was it. There really was no other reason, I don't think.
Wait. I was so confused watching that movie. That part flew over me. When Hamilton is the main character, right?
Yeah.
I'm qualified to talk about this movie. She's the main woman with the kids that died in her dimension. In this dimension, they're alive. She was planning on going to Earth.
Yeah, that's why she was in the pod with the other girl that knocked her out.
Why did they want to go to Earth? I thought that they wanted to come back to our dimension.
No, okay. So what happened was,
You see, this movie's confusing. It's not. I'm not the worst listener and viewer in the world, but it's.
Okay, so the reason Hamilton wants to go to Earth. So what happened was earlier in the movie, whenever I forgot the blonde-haired lady's name, but the other mechanic that wasn't Tim, she said she knew Hamilton, and Hamilton was on Earth, and she had kids, and so the Earth 1 Hamilton, the one that we start off watching, she, after finding out her kids are alive in Earth 2, she decides she's going to go to Earth 2. Even the captain says, no, that's a bad idea. But she's like, you wouldn't understand. And that was the end of it. So the reason why she was going is because it was going to be her and the other girl from Earth 2 that were going to go to Earth with the schematics to build a working shepherd.
Oh, I see.
So
at the end of the movie, she did send the schematics
She
to
did it
herself.
Yeah, that's why she sent that message. She sent the message saying, "Don't install the battery, or else you'll burn your kids." She didn't say that exactly, but that's what she basically said. And then she sent the schematics so they can build a working shepherd. So that's why she was heading to... Well, she wasn't heading to Earth to build the shepherd because that was the other girl's job. She was only heading to Earth to see her kids again. Let's see.
So that's more logical than just to see her kids. I get that a little more since they were already making the trip there anyways.
This next question was...
Wait, did they ever say who was sabotaging Earth 1's shepherd the whole time?
That was... I'm sure it's going to be coming up a question.
The German turned out to be a good guy. The Russian turned out to be a good guy. I don't know. Why do you have all those worms in him? Did they ever mention that either?
That's actually the next question. It says, the next section was there any kind of logic to the weird stuff happening? AKA, Jensen getting stuck in the wall. Oh, Jensen is the name of the other girl.
Oh, okay.
So, Jensen being stuck in the wall with the electric parts in her. Mundy's arm and the worms inside of the Russian guy. I forgot his name. And
then also the way the guy dies that doesn't have the arm, he just gets freaking destroyed by a bunch of tentacles, all the while a magnetic field is exploding.
Oh, Mundy.
That was Mundy. That was so absurd. It was basically like a Final Destination scene with no nuance. It was basically like, this guy, he's gonna die for no good reason. This is gonna happen.
Yeah, they don't. Okay, so the only reason the other shepherd or the shepherd didn't work on Earth 2 was because of Schmidt sabotaging it. Earth 1 though, they don't necessarily say who was sabotaging it, but someone had to be, because they basically had a working shepherd the whole time, but someone had to, just like in Earth 2, it was Shepard. So since Shepard wasn't the one ruining it in Earth 1, who was ruining it? I don't think we haven't come across that question yet, and I don't know if it's going to say, but yeah, don't know. Don't know who's sabotaging it.
The Room, Tommy Wiseau's The Room.
No,
sci-fi.
I was thinking it's closer to The Cube. Have you watched The Cube?
No.
It's a good movie, and it's kind of relevant to this a little bit. So, if you've watched Cloverfield Paradox, The Cube, and The Room, email us. Let us know who's closer. Is it closer to The Cube or The Room? So the next question on here is why did Jensen decide to murder the entire crew and doom their planet? And what was her plan? That's easy because she had already. Oh no, okay. Well, the pod was ready to go. I guess if the pod had taken off, we don't know how many pods there are, and they were already close enough to Earth to send a pod, or else her and Hamilton wouldn't have been in a pod to go to Earth anyway. So I'm guessing there's more than one escape pod. She was planning on killing everyone, taking the schematics, and taking the whole shepherd back to Earth. Because remember, her logic was that she didn't want just the plans because it would take too long to build another shepherd. So by just killing them and having their shepherd, that's all she cared about.
So basically, by just over a whole other dimension of Earth, so another 8 billion people, like she's gonna kill those people just so she can make this one happen faster. Because she had it. She had the schematics. They were gonna make it.
Well, I think her logic, and the reason I kind of agree with her trusting it more, the shepherd with her Earth more than the other Earth, was because they don't, like, she's probably not confident that they can go back to their universe. Remember, if there's different dimensions, then what's to say that running the shepherd again won't send him into a different dimension to Earth 3 or 4 and not back to Earth 1? What are the chances it's going to do that? I'd say extremely low.
Yeah.
So
also, it's really weird that in some moments the shepherd works as a perfectly amazing particle accelerator or whatever to create energy, and in some moments it just transports you to another dimension. Did they ever explain why it worked one time and didn't?
not. I think it's because of the
And
something.
also how they need to get back to the right dimension.
It had to be with the sabotage or something. I think.
I was gonna actually go back to another question. Why the girl ended up in all the electronics, Jensen or whatever her name is. I just imagine that the ship teleported into her, or at least dragged her into it. Because what it looked like was that she
might have been in a different part of the ship of the other one.
yeah,
maybe
or something, yeah, and just kind of like when they teleported, she was already right here. And then, you know what I mean? That's
yeah,
how it
but
looked to me.
I mean, I guess I can see it working that way. But the weird part is why didn't all the crew do that, or why didn't the ship have other parts of the other ship in it?
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because she obviously wasn't just floating in space. So if she was in a pod, it would make more sense if the pod was kind of stuck in with the ship, and then also her in it stuck inside.
Right, because then you'd have a piece of ship also hanging off too.
You know what it is?
Paradox. So the next question is also one that we obviously have an answer to that's completely right, which is says why after they got back did the shepherd work just like that? Like after they got back, fired it up once, bam, perfect working. That's because it wasn't being sabotaged anymore. It's very, very likely that the shepherd worked the whole time. But like the evil Schmidt said or did was that it was the reason why the Schmidt in World 2 was sabotaging the shepherd was so the Germans had enough time to take out Russia. I think it was what it was. So what's to say something like that happened, except for say Voldikov, I think is what his name was, wasn't doing the same to the Shepherd 1. But that's why, because it was being sabotaged the whole time. It could have been working, they were up there for 2 years. It could have been working the whole time, but the reason it didn't was because of Shepherd, or because of the sabotage is what I meant to say.
Also, why the was the space compass stuck in the Russian dude's belly?
Right.
And why would the arm just know that? Also, it's a plot device. But anyone else notice that the arm was just kind of like chilling at the end of the movie? Still alive? Very relevant?
Wait, what do you mean?
At the end of the movie,
Oh.
there was one shot of
the
just
arm
stuck in...
It's just to remind you it's there and not just a plot device.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm still here. Yeah, I never got it because the guy after the arm separates and just kind of gets its own mentality, he's like, all right, cool, nice arm. He doesn't ever try to like
put it back on.
Business. Yeah, that's what I would have done first try. My first instinct would have been like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Also, if he would have transported back to our dimension, do suddenly rules apply to him again? Would he start bleeding? Would he feel the pain? Or would he get his arm back?
And we'll never know.
Yeah, because he gets killed by a tentacle monster. Sugoi.
Oh, the next question here. We're almost done answering every question.
And we're almost out of time.
All right. So the next one says, did the message Hamilton sent to herself actually go anywhere? Yes. She sent it as it was transmitting, even if the shepherd was teleported back to World 1. That doesn't stop. It didn't teleport the whole universe. Voldikov was innocent. She sent the message. The message, is a feed basically being transmitted by radio waves or whatever in the future they use, and it's still going to where it needs to go. And the ship can teleport away. Just like if you send a text and destroy the phone, the text is still going to get to the other person.
Good analogy. Next question.
See. Why does the ventilation room fill with water? That's because the universes are merging together and the other shepherd was underwater.
Is that exactly it?
What else could it be? There's no water in space.
Hey, that's nice. At least that makes more sense.
Yeah, because remember they're merging together. The other shepherd's underwater.
Maybe the other dimension's Russian dude was underwater. His corpse is underwater, and then he was eaten by worms, and that's why their bodies fused, and he was filled with worms.
Yeah, but then that still wouldn't explain why the gyroid thing wasn't him. He ate that too? Nah. Yeah.
Plot holes. I mean, paradoxes.
Oh, and the next question is the space pod the UFO from the end of Cloverfield? Remember what I was telling you about?
This is where the visuals cut out and we're all audio.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. Well, throw some stuff on the screen because I think we're done. Yeah, because the next one's what happened to the bunker with the little girl in it. And that's just
speculation.
we all know on that one. So we answered every question there is to ask about Cloverfield Paradox, and anything else you might ever want to know.
Yeah, I think that's about it. That about sums it up for today's episode. Thank you all for sticking around. Stay spooky. Don't forget to send submissions to the otherworldlypod at gmail.com. Scary stories, opinions, anything you would like to just add to the show, we'll definitely make sure to check it out.
Is Dylan's hairstyle good?
Oh, yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah.